Hello, it's Andrine, a Jewish American priestess, and I'm bringing you a reading today for the month of July as we're heading into this mid-summer month. And today we're going to do a reading, we're going to do actually 4 readings based on the 4 elements. So you're welcome to listen to all 4 as you wish. But if you'd like to choose just one element, you're welcome to do that. I'll put the timestamps down below so that you can find your reading directly. And we're using these symbols of the elements as we go into our readings. So starting on the east side, we have the feathers representing the element of air. And we'll be using this deck of tarot cards as well as Hebrunes and Nordic runes in that reading. To the south, we have the element of fire, and we'll be using this tarot deck, as well as Hebrunes and Nordic runes. On the west, we have the element of water in this bowl, and this tarot deck, as well as the Hebrunes and Nordic runes. And then for the north, we have the element of earth with these stones, this deck, and Hebrunes as well as Nordic runes. So take a moment to decide which of these 4 elements you would like to start with. And again, you're welcome to listen to each of the readings as it draws you, or just one or several. And I will see you in your separate readings. Welcome East, welcome Air. For your reading today, we have 3 feathers. A hawk feather, a crow feather, and a jay feather. And they'll be sitting here at the top to represent the element of air as it comes in the direction of east. And as I said, we're going to be using the Hebrunes, the Nordic runes, as well as a tarot card today. So we're going to start with our tarot card. And we're talking about what's coming up for you in the month of July. So we're going to start by shuffling our deck and pulling out one card for a significator card to give us a general feeling for the month ahead. Let's see what we have. And I see this card sticking out. I'll set these off to the side in case we need any more later. But our first card, oh wow, the Queen of Wands. Very nice. So the Queen of Wands is the witch of the tarot deck. She's the master mistress, the queen of her suit, the suit of wands, which is of course fire. But as you know, if we put fire and air together, we get a greater fire. So inspiration coming in with the Queen of Wands. She's sitting in her throne. And since we are talking about July here, we have the elements with the lions here on the back of her throne and on the sides of her throne. We will be coming into the constellation of Leo later in the month. So the power that comes with Leo, that fiery element, that fiery spirit of inspiration. And the queen who is sitting here on her throne, completely in power, completely in charge of what she's got going on. So that's a very strong read for those of you who chose East and Air, the passion that comes with the Queen of Wands. So let's start with that. We'll set her down here on our drum, and then we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes on the right side and 3 Nordic runes on the left side, and we may zoom in a little bit to get a closer look at these. First I'll draw them. At the top of the reading we have the letter Beit. In the center, we have the Ein Sof. And at the bottom of the reading, we have the letter Dalet. Let's pull out our Nordic runes at the same time so we can see how they play off each other. At the top of the reading, we have the Yira. In the center, we have Tiwaz. And at the bottom, we have the blank rune, the Weird. So very interesting that we're getting similar takes here. Let's zoom this in a little bit so we can see more clearly. All right, so we have the Queen of Wands representing, as I said, inspiration and that power and that witchiness that comes with the fire, with the giant wand here. And we are celebrating in this reading the element of air, which is all about communication. So there's some kind of passion, there's some kind of passion and communication coming in for you in the month of July. As we look at our Hebrunes, on the right side we have the Beit at the top, and this is the position of where we are right now in your situation. The Beit is the letter that means a home or a house. So it speaks to being comfortable in your home, being the master of your home, being the queen of your domain. Beit can be a building, or it can be some kind of dwelling space. It could be the earth itself, because that's where we all dwell at this moment in time. And it can also be the body which is the place where we live no matter where we are on this planet. So we're taking care of our home right now. We're finding comfort in our space. We are making sure that our space is clear and strong and safe. The Beit is the number 2 in Gematria. It's the second letter of the alphabet. And to that end, it speaks to second chances on some level. So maybe there's some kind of fire, some kind of passion that's come up. It's important to start talking about it and find the second chance that you have for whatever passion that you are kindling right now. Maybe you're blowing on that fire with that element of air to make that hearth really light up and sing. The Beit is the binary transformation of life and death in the Sefer Yetzirah, the book of creation. So to that end, it speaks to that commandment, or that, I don't know if I call it a commandment, the mitzvah, which is to say the commitment toward choosing life. When you're given a choice between life and death, it's always essential to choose life in the situation. So again, if something is starting to go, maybe those embers are dying, you want to blow air into the situation and really light it up, make that hearth really sing, make that hearth come to life again. Give it another chance. Those embers are sitting there at the bottom of the fireplace, and it is saying here to me that now is the time to breathe into them, to get that fire going the way you might in a campfire, and you're trying to get it started or restarted in the morning after things have died down, and you're just blowing away like a bellows on those embers. Beit is the letter that begins the Torah. It's the first letter of Torah, Bereshit. It means in the beginning. So there's a new beginning, like I said, a second chance that's coming with the Beit. Beit is also the mouth in the body. So using your mouth, using your words as the air element to speak that passion into fire again. Beit rules over the day of Shabbat in time. So it may also speak to giving rest, taking time to rest from whatever work you're doing, which isn't to say you let the thing die, but to speak in a kind way, to rekindle the passion, but in a way that is restful and peaceful, like a Shabbat day, where you're giving lots of space. Be the ruler of your domain and rekindle the fire. Blow some air into that fire situation. On the left side, we have the letter Yira with the Nordic runes. And Yira means harvest. It's about cycles and seasons, cycles of the year and seasons of the year. But it's about bringing things around to harvest. So something is ready for harvest right now. And that seems appropriate for summer right now. In my garden, I have a lot of things I'm harvesting, the cooler weather vegetables before they bolt, right? So we have lettuces and spinaches and such that don't love the summer heat, so it's time to harvest them right now. This is about fruition, coming into cycles of plenty, and again, peace and happiness. So finding the way to collect the harvest, to really pay attention to the cycles and seasons of time and harvest what is coming in right now. You are the master of this home, of this domain. So harvest what's necessary. And it could be a literal harvest like what's going on in the garden, or it can be a metaphorical harvest if you've been nurturing something that you're hoping to see fruitful in your life, whether that's a relationship or something having to do with your work, some kind of money situation. Now is the time to call it in. Now is the time to harvest, and you're finding that harvest right now. In the center of our reading on the right side, we have the Ein Sof, and the Ein Sof in Hebrew is the blank. It's the letter that is no letter, and yet it is the basis for all letters. It's that blank page. And this position in the reading in the center is, what is our fear or challenge here? So the Ein Sof showing up in the position of a fear or a challenge, maybe you're not sure what's happening. You're not sure what's going to happen next. It's unknown. There is a potential for anything to happen, and that could be a little scary. It could be a little frightening. Is sending that breath into the fire to stoke the fire going to set things aflame? Is it going to burn things down? We don't know. Is the infinite, is the divine here supporting you in this? And that's a valid concern. The challenge may be remaining open to whatever is coming, being open to the infinite, trusting that all will work out in the big picture. And on the left side, we have the letter Tiwaz, and Tiwaz belongs to the god Tyr. Tyr is the warrior god. And so it's about might and will. Again, taking up action. This can be seen as a sword, which is the element of air in tarot, is swords. So our challenge here is speaking, maybe, being strong and pushing forward right now at this time when we're not sure what's happening. We're unclear about how things are playing out. And that Tyr is the warrior god. It's about duty, and it's about not necessarily conflict, but showing up and being present for whatever is about to manifest. And it can be conflict, though. In this position of a fear or a challenge, maybe Tyr is showing up and it's of concern because it might represent war. It might represent some kind of self-sacrifice and using power in a way that can be seen as aggressive. So there's some fear or challenge there, and we don't want that aggression necessarily, but we do want to push forward. So when we find ourselves in that position of fear around that potential for conflict, it would be good to bring ourselves back up to harvest, to bring ourselves back into this place of peace and power, because Yira is all about balance and peace. And this can be conflict. So if we're afraid of conflict, or if we're challenged by somebody coming at us with conflict, finding a place to breathe into our space and finding a comfort in our home and tapping into that harvest space of, we're finding balance. We're going through a cycle right now, and we don't need to know everything as we step through into this next period of time. And on the lower right, on the Hebrew side, our outcome or advice for the situation, we have the letter Dalet. Dalet is a doorway. It's a gateway. It's a liminal space through which we need to pass in order to get through the other side. And so a doorway is going to open here for you at the end of the month, near the end of the month, that there will be a door, some kind of transition that needs to happen. And the advice here is to step through that door, even if it feels challenging, even if you're not sure, even if you're not sure what's on the other side. It's important to step through the doorway to be birthed out into the next iteration. So Dalet is here saying there's a doorway, there's a gateway, there's a challenge that we need to step through. And Dalet is the number 4 in Gematria, and to that end it speaks to the 4 elements. As we're doing this reading, we're talking about all the different 4 elements. So all those elements are at your disposal here, that you have the ability to tap into each of those elements. The element of fire, the element of air, certainly with our breath and our speech, the elements of water going with the flow, and the element of earth, staying grounded on this throne that is made out of stone. as we step forward through the doorway, through that liminal space, into the next thing at the end of the month. We're sitting at home right now. In this middle space there is a blankness, and then at the end we step out of the home into the world, into the doorway. On the left side we have the blank again. This is the Nordic Rune Weird, which is about fate and just being open to all things. And our outcome and advice here is to remain open. So although there may be a challenge around that on the Hebrew side, on the Nordic Rune side, we have the admonition to remain open, to be open to whatever fate presents for us, to know that there is infinite possibility here as we come through at the end of the month. So for those of you who chose the air element, again, find your place in home. Know that you are the sovereign of your space. There is a time for harvest happening right now. A new beginning is coming in. We have the ability to have a second chance and harvest what we can in this time. The summers are difficult when they're hot like this in the northern hemisphere. So we may not know what's coming. We may not feel seen or supported by the divine. We may be a little uncomfortable with all the possibilities that are being presented to us. And there may be some conflict or difficulty knowing what it is we're expected to do. What is our duty in this situation? But the outcome here is step through the doorway, embrace the infinite, and really know that infinite possibility is here for you, that you are the master, that you're the Queen of Wands here, that the air is on your side, that you get to speak what you want to say, and again, fan the flames of whatever passion is here for you, so that it will burst into flame, and by the end of the month you'll have that possibility here and all those tools at your disposal. All four elements will be here for you, and you'll have the ability to know what's available, and even more than you can imagine will be available for you at the end of this month. For those of you who chose the element of air and our feathers today, this has been your reading. I hope you have a beautiful July and that we'll see you again soon. Welcome South, welcome Fire. Those of you who chose the fire element, the element that belongs to the season of summer in the Northern Hemisphere, this is your reading for the month of July. We have our tarot deck, and we're going to start by doing a one card pull of what is our significator for this month for you, about what is coming in around the element of fire and the season of summer, season of July. Oh, and there goes the card down to the floor. That's got to be the one. Let's see what we have. High Priestess, beautiful. So the High Priestess is, of course, the mouthpiece for the divine feminine. You can see that she has the moon element at her feet and also on her crown. And she's sometimes seen as somebody who's mysterious and difficult to read, possibly having things that are veiled. That screen that's behind her is veiling the Holy of Holies, but there's so much water also behind her and at her feet. And the light of the moon, these pomegranates which represent fruitfulness, the two pillars which are holding up the temple, and the number 2, of course. So the High Priestess is here for you. I see her as representing the Shekhinah in Judaism, in terms of the divine feminine, and the letter Shin, which begins the word Shekhinah, is the letter that's affiliated with the south and with fire, the mother letter of fire. So beautiful that you have the Shekhinah here with you in the form of the High Priestess to welcome in your month of July. And we're going to pull out 3 Hebrunes and 3 Nordic runes as well, to get some further clarity about what's coming down the line for you in the month of July. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Zayin. In the center, we have the letter Kuf. And at the bottom, we have the letter Shin. Very nice. Let's see what our Nordic runes say. At the top, we have the letter Fehu. In the center, our letter Raido. And at the bottom, Hagalaz. Very nice. All right. So starting at the top on the right side, we have the letter Zayin. Zayin is a letter that is a sword or a scepter, so it's all about sovereignty. It's all about divine sovereignty, and the divine sovereignty specifically of the Shekhinah, of the divine feminine. So the Zayin is the number 7 in Gematria. 7 represents the 7th day of creation, which is Shabbat, and the Shekhinah is said to be the Shabbat bride. She shows up every week to be greeted by us as the bride of peace and wholeness. And Zayin here is that power. It's that sword or the scepter, and it speaks to me about inner sovereignty, personal sovereignty, the sovereignty of the High Priestess within each of us, that we can tap into the indwelling presence of the feminine divine, the Shekhinah. So power here, swords and scepters, the number 7, the day of Shabbat and rest, which is wholeness and peace, all here right now for you as you come into this month. Really beautiful. Fantastic to have that as a support as you're walking into this midsummer time. It's all about the magic. You know, the number 7 is seen as a magical number in so many different cultures. It's got that affiliation with the 7th day of the week, of course, Shabbat, but also the 7 weeks of the Omer, which we just came through, that transition period from our point of liberation to revelation at Shavuot. It's connected to the month of Sivan, which is ending just now as we move into Tammuz, as we move into the new moon in that first week of July. So we're coming to the end of Sivan, and it's so perfect that this is showing up as the position of what is happening right now. Power, sovereignty, this final day of creation, which gives us the doorway into the infinite next. It's affiliated with the constellation of Gemini and the tribe of Zevulun, who is the one who is affiliated with business. So there may be something up right now about business for you in your life that is something coming to completion perhaps, or something just coming into power in your business dealings. And I think about Zayin as being connected to the emperor, which is that masculine power because of the sword and the scepter here. But again, the Shekhinah, who is the ultimate power over all sovereigns on earth. So the High Priestess and the Zayin here are just a very beautiful match coming together. On the Nordic rune side, we have the letter Fehu. And Fehu is the letter that represents cattle, which is to say wealth and worth, finding one's own inner worth. It's about success and abundance, increased income, increased possessions, but it's not just about material possessions. It's also about tending whatever it is that brings you joy, brings you greatness in your life. So whatever it is that you tend, whether you're a cowboy or a cowgirl or a goat herd or whatever, that thing that you are tending is the thing that will bring you worth and value in your life. So if we're tending things spiritually, that could be the thing that brings us the most value and worth in our life. And the Fehu sitting here with the High Priestess says to me, it is time to find our worth, our inner worth in whatever it is that we are tending. And that is our sovereignty. That is our inner sovereignty. We're finding success and wealth in the thing we are tending, and we are tending our inner spirit. that which is veiled by the Holy of Holies, that which we are protecting and tending and caring for right now. So beautiful that we have Fehu, which is again the first letter of the Futhark in the Nordic runes. And we have this power, this sword and scepter on the Hebrew side. So tend whatever it is necessary. Maybe it's pomegranates we're tending, maybe it's the moon that we're tending, but whatever it is, we're finding our value in that and tending it and bringing our own worth, or bringing our own inner sovereignty into play with the thing that we are finding value and tending in. In the center, on the right side, we have the letter Kuf. And the letter Kuf is the letter that begins the word Kadosh, which means sacredness, holiness. And it's also the letter that begins the word Kof, which means monkey. So there's this balance between what is sacred and what is mundane, what is humanistic or earthly. And that's the challenge. So this is the position of what is a fear or a challenge in our situation right now in this month coming up with July. And it's that balance between what is sacred and what is profane, what is animalistic in nature and what is holy. So I love that here. We've got the number 100 with the Kuf, the number 100, which it reduces down to the number 1 again, the one which is the divine, the Aleph, the oneness of all. So 100 is that really ultimate manifestation of the 10, which is the ultimate manifestation of the 1, and it's just this huge concept of the biggest of that which is sacred. And the sacred of the Holy of Holies here behind the High Priestess in this reading is very much, it's a lot to tend. And I'm guessing that what this is saying here for you in the month of July, there may be a lot of spirituality coming in. There may be a lot of tending to your spiritual self in a way that is finding your inner sovereignty, in a way that is tending what's important to you. And the challenge here is also tending to your body, being your monkey self, allowing for your humanity to come through and not be overshadowed by spirituality. You really need to balance the two, and that's the trick here. Finding a way to balance the sacredness of the situation as well as the humanness of the situation, to really understand that our humanity is also tied up in our divinity, that we are created by divinity and of divinity. And in order to balance the two, we have to recognize that there's nothing in actuality that's profane. What's important is that we have an attitude of sacredness in all of the things we do. So we're finding our sacredness and trying to balance that in our lives. And the challenge there, or the fear there, is that we won't do it right, but trust that we have our inner sovereignty here. On the left side, we have the Nordic rune of Rytho. And Rytho is about setting out, doing something. It's about riding. It's about going forward. And this can be about going forward in a spiritual way, but it can also be going forward in a very physical, literal way, a journey. So finding our journey along this path, finding out where we are, what's the progress, what's the right way to go. How do we grow and move forward rationally in a way that is making sense to us and not getting in the way of our spirituality? It's okay to go forward, but our challenge is remaining in a position of finding the sacredness in the situation, finding that the path is a sacred path, even if it feels very indulgent, maybe physically indulgent. Maybe we're doing something that we're enjoying, and that's okay. I mean, a lot of times we have challenges with physical indulgence and really enjoying our bodies and really enjoying the season, because we feel like, oh no, we shouldn't be, we should be more holy, we should be more spiritual. But the reality is, it's all spiritual. And if you can come at it with the attitude of sacredness. So as you travel forward this month, if you are going on a vacation, or if you're going on a little journey somewhere, even if it's an internal journey, know that if we can come at it with a period of sacredness and a place of really owning our sovereignty, owning our divinity in the situation, really valuing and tending that we'll be okay. So if the fear or challenge is about going, it's not saying don't go. It's saying go, but go in a way that is resonant with what is sacred for you. And our outcome on the right side, I love this. We have the Shin, which is the mother letter of fire, the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of the divine. It's also the first letter of the word Shalom, which means wholeness. It's translated as peace a lot of the time, but not peace that just means an absence of war, but something which is whole. The Shekhinah, the fire, it's unpredictable. It's it's got these three yuds at the top, which represent the seed and the first letter of the divine name, and these four vavs, three coming down and one across the bottom. Vav's all about connection, and the yud is all about planting a seed. And the fire here is licking up from the bottom, just keeping things burning. And it's passion, and it's wholeness, and it's the indwelling presence of the Shekhinah. It's also about change, shuvah, return, shini, shine, which means tooth. There's biting into things, like biting into the peach of the world of the summer here. Just really taking a big bite of whatever it is that you're encountering. By the end of the month, things will be fired up in a good way, not in a way that everything is burning down, but in a way that you're supported by the divine, that you have become the priestess, that you have become the one who really manifests the indwelling presence of the divinity. Really tapping into your power, really owning the sacredness of the situation. This is all here for you in this moment. And on the left side, we have the letter Hagalaz, and Hagalaz is chaos and the big hailstorm and weather and change again. So something is changing, and it may seem really chaotic, and that might be a little challenging. But on the other hand, you get to become the storm, is what this is saying to me. You get to become your own wild self, to really embrace that wildness in you and walk into and be the storm. And if you become the storm cannot bother you. So there's maybe something that's a little change happening, a big weather change, but it's a good change. It's a change that's saying embrace your wild self, embrace the wildness of the situation. It may be feeling like things are out of control, but if you are, again, going into your wildness, it's okay to be a little out of control. It's okay to have that fire burning and that passion coming up. So I just love this reading for those of you who chose the element of fire. We have the High Priestess here saying this is a sacred time, that we are maybe being a little mysterious, but we're tapping into our inner feminine divine, that we've come into our power, that we have that sword and that scepter within us, the Shabbat bride, the Shekhinah, the indwelling presence of the divine is right here for us. And if we tend this, if we can tend our spirituality, our wealth, and our worth, if we can tend our pomegranates, we will be able to eat that fruit and really bite into it with the shine here, with the tooth. If we're concerned about indulging in our physical selves or our human nature, if we can approach it with an air of sacredness, that will be adding to our power, not diminishing from it. And the traveling forward, the journey that we're on, if it's a little bit frightening, make sure that you tend the spirituality, tend what is right here, and you will come into a place of great power, great kind of wild power that is maybe a little frightening for others, but if you're in the storm, if you are the storm, it cannot harm you. And the Shekhinah is here lighting things up on fire with that flame, with that change, with that wholeness that comes with accepting who you are and the whole part of yourself. So for those of you who chose the fire element for this month of July, I wish you all the best. It sounds like a spectacular month for you, and I hope that it shows up for you exactly as you need, and that you really can tap into your inner divinity. And I will look forward to seeing you here next time. Welcome West, welcome water. Those of you who chose the element of water, we have our water here. I don't know if you can see that. I'll splash it around a little bit. And we have our Aquarian Tarot, which is appropriate for a water bearer. I'm going to set our water off to the side here, and we have our fish up here as well. We're going to start by pulling one card from the Aquarian Tarot as a signifier for your reading today. And then we'll do some Nordic runes and some Hebrunes as well, and see what the month of July has in store for you. That seems to be your card. Set these here. Let's see who we have. We have the Knight of Pentacles. All right. Well, as we know, the Knight of Pentacles is about earth, an earth element, but if you have ever been into a river or the ocean, you know there's a lot of earth in the water. So the Knight of Pentacles is this slow-moving knight who is moving forward very methodically, very deliberately. And that can be a beautiful thing, especially in this very warm Northern Hemisphere summertime. So our Knight of Pentacles is here with a slow, steady pace, moving forward in the water, maybe walking through the water, maybe skipping stones across the water, or being those stones as the water pours over it in a stream, being the sand on the beach that is moved very gradually and slowly as the water hits it. So, beautiful start to your month of July reading. The Knight of Pentacles is here for you. And let's pull out 3 Hebrunes and 3 Nordic runes. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Samech. I'm going to rearrange things slightly here. The letter Samech. In the center, we have the Ein Sof. And at the bottom of our reading, we have the letter Aleph. Let's see what Nordic runes want to come out as well today. At the top, we have the letter Othala. In the center, we have the letter Nauthiz. And at the bottom, we have the letter Tiwaz. On the right side, with the Hebrunes, we have the letter Samech at the top, and this is the position of what's happening right now for you. Samech is all about boundaries. It's the letter that means support and surrounding yourself with boundaries, protective hedges. In the ancient Hebrew, this was the letter that looked like a thorn, and so setting up thorny hedges around your property may be appropriate right now in order to be safe and protected as you head into the month of July. The Samech is a letter that is like a cycle or a circle. So it can be about seasons, changes that are happening, transitions that are happening, like the Wheel of Fortune or some kind of Wheel of the Year, Wheel of the Season, Wheel of the Moon. It's about being protected, as I said. So Samech is here saying that right now, our best strategy for as we head into the month of July is to protect ourselves, is to set up permeable boundaries in such a way that we feel supported and that we're comfortable where we are. The Samech is the foundation of agitation, though, so there may be something about if we're finding ourselves moving very slowly, we might have some agitation that will push us into some sort of action so that we don't come to a complete stop. And maybe that's one of the reasons why we're going slowly, is because we feel like we need to have protection and support as we move on, that we're taking our time in this stepping forward, taking our slow time without coming to a complete halt. And this is what I'm seeing here. The wheels are important, but the boundaries are more important on some level. Things do need to move forward and turn and cycle. And we also need to be mindful about how we're stepping forward into this month. The Samhain is the number 60 in Gematria. And the number 6 is the letter Vav, which is about connection. 60 is 10 times 6, so it's an ultimate connection, being surrounded with a circle of friends, being surrounded with protection from divinity. And that's where things are right now for you. On the Nordic rune side, we have the letter Othala. And Othala is the letter that means legacy or home, property on some level. So it can be about inheritance, getting aid on your spiritual journey, maybe from ancestors and ancestral homeland. And so that's interesting in terms of it coming across from Samhain, because maybe these boundaries that we're setting up for ourselves right now need to come to us from our ancestors, from our ancestral line, from whatever connection that we can receive from those who came before. The Othala is, again, about legacy, about inheritance. So we're inheriting something. We're finding our homestead here. But we're also protecting ourselves and surrounding ourselves with love and support. So moving slowly and finding our support in terms of who has come before and how we can invite them in a safe way so that we're not putting ourselves in any risk. Stepping gingerly forward, definitely moving forward, but moving forward slowly and mindfully into this month, into whatever's coming in July. Our fear or challenge in the situation is the Ein Sof, which is the letter that is no letter. In Hebrew, it's the blank rune, the blank Hebrew, which is to say the substrate. It's the blank canvas onto which all of the other letters are carved. So it is the infinite, and it is the no thing. So it gives us the feeling of infinite potential, but it can also feel like nothingness. So that's the fear or the challenge right now. The fear or the challenge is that nothing's happening, that we're going so slow, perhaps, that we can't see that any movement is happening at all. And the fear or challenge is there's either nothing happening or there's too much happening, and we don't get to balance that. And that's hard, but we can surround ourselves with love and protection, set up good boundaries, know that we're moving forward, that we're having some kind of agitation that's spurring us forward here, that our ancestors are watching over us and protecting us in this time frame. So not to fear, but know that the infinite is here for you, even if it feels like not a whole lot is happening. On the Nordic rune side, we have the letter Nauthiz. And Nauthiz is all about need. So this is about tending your needs. It's about necessity, making sure that you're taking constraint and caution, that there is some kind of resistance to moving forward. So I see this in, so far in every letter, that there's some slowness, again, with the card of the Knight of Pentacles, moving forward, being cautious, taking your time, having some sort of delays even. So there may be a fear or a challenge in going as slowly as you need to go to get through this period of time. So that's up right now, this almost blank that's stopping, but this feeling of delay, this feeling of caution, this feeling of slowness that comes with the Knight of Pentacles. And that's challenging for those who have chosen water, because water is something that flows. Water is something that continues to go. But sometimes it looks stagnant, and we don't need to believe that stagnation is happening. We can understand that sometimes things just go very slowly. There are periods in the river where things come to a standstill, or appear to come to a standstill, but underneath there's still movement happening. Also, you might get yourself in a position in sailing where you're in a whirlpool that's even slowly turning. And when it is, that can be really challenging, but we can wait for the tide to come. And when the tide comes in, we know that everything will change. And that seems like July is going to be a little bit of a slow month for you, though. In our outcome letter on the Hebrew side, we have the letter Aleph, and Aleph is the number 1, so it's a new beginning coming in. It's about connection with above and below, the heavens above and the earth below, and a connection between. So it's also the mother letter of air, so it can be about breath. That wind will pick up, and you'll be able to see the ripples at the top of the water by the end of the month. There'll be something that is breathing air, breathing breath into the situation. Air will fill your sails again, and you'll be able to move forward. The Aleph is, like I said, the number 1, so it's the oneness of the divine and the oneness of all. But if you change the vowels in the Aleph, it becomes Aleph, which means 1,000. So there's a paradox between above and below, between the 1 and the 1,000, between the one body and the trillions of cells, the one star and the trillions of stars in the universe. So there's a little bit of a paradox here between what appears to be a standstill and subtle movement that's happening under the surface. So a new beginning is coming by the end of the month, and breath will be breathed into the situation. You'll start to see the ripples happening on the surface as you stick it out through the end of July. On the left side, we have the letter Tiwaz, and Tiwaz is Tyr's rune. Tyr is the warrior god, and so it can be about conflict, but it's mostly about duty and will, being able to pick yourself up and move in a direction, being able to speak clearly as well. And that's interesting because with the Aleph, we have the air element, so speaking and air are both here at the bottom of our reading. So we have some change that's happening, and you might need to be the person who is speaking in order to bring yourself into the next place. Finding your duty, finding your will, finding your rationality, your ability to speak forth what you need to say, using your voice, breathing life into the situation. So for those of you who chose the element of water, the Knight of Pentacles, this stone that seems to be sitting still underneath the surface, doesn't seem to be moving at all, but it's being surrounded with protection, surrounded with water, surrounded with the love of the ancestors, of legacy, of ones who came before. They are here surrounding you with protection right now. And in the center of our time, you may find yourself feeling like nothing is happening. This is the fear that you might have delays, that there's a need for just basically stopping. But you're also being spurred forward, and by the end of the month, there will be this air breathed into the situation, this spark of a new beginning coming in, the ability to speak what you need to say, and coming into the end of the month with movement forward again, although it's been seemingly a slow month. So for those of you who chose the element of water, this has been your reading. Do not despair. You are surrounded. You are protected. Call on those ancestors. Know that the divine is here, both in the form of the infinite and in the form of the one. They are here for you, surrounding you with protection. And by the end of the month, there will be forward movement and the ability to see that again, even as small ripples on the surface. Thank you for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you here next time. Hello, those of you who chose the element of earth. We have these two stones here, which are a smooth river stone, as well as a shiny, sparkly, nice stone from granite of some kind with the quartz crystals within it. So these are our stones here today, and we'll set them up to the top here so that we have them in the reading. And we are reading about the month of July, and we're going to be using the Wildwood Tarot. And we're going to pull one card from the Wildwood Tarot in order to get our significator card before we pull our Hebrunes in our runes. Let's see what the month of July has for those of you who chose the earth element today. We have the King of Arrows, so the Kingfisher. And the Kingfisher is, interestingly, the King of Swords in traditional tarot. So it's an air element, but it's also water here. So we have two of the additional elements coming in to support your earth element today. The King of Arrows, the King of Swords, the Kingfisher is able to fly over his domain and see all that he needs to see in order to provide support for himself and his kingdom. The King of Swords is able to cut through all of the garbage and come straight to the point. He is decisive and clear-headed and clear of speech. So that's interesting coming from element of earth, that you have this groundedness that comes. Although, so arrows and swords are often, I mean, the arrows are sometimes tipped with a stone tip, and I love that. And the swords, of course, are made of metal, which is an earth element. So we have this earth element within this air element here for you. And of course, flying over the water, because the Kingfisher is a fisher and does its hunting in the water. But it is a bird of the air. So that's our significator card. It sounds to me like July may be a time where it's important to say what you need to say, to be really clear and thoughtful, and to be decisive about whatever it is that's coming up for you. Let's pull out some Hebrunes to get some further information. At the top of our reading, we have the letter Tet. In the center, we have the Ein Sof. Wow. And at the bottom, we have the letter Kaf. Let's see what our Nordic runes say. At the top, we have Berkana. In the center, we have the Thorasaz. And at the bottom, we have Hagalaz. Okay. Wow. All right, so for those of you who chose Earth today, the Earth element with our stones here, we're starting out on the upper right with the letter Tet. The letter Tet is the letter that represents a womb space, a cup, also a snake, and a womb space. So it's about a container. It's about a container that's transformed, something gestating within this, something shedding its skin, something waiting to be born. There's some kind of gestation happening right now. That it's the number 9, so it's the number 9 months of pregnancy in the womb. And this idea of goodness, something good within here, because it's the first letter of the word Tov, which means good in Hebrew. So something good is gestating right now. That seems to be what's up. And as the Kingfisher, you need to be the one who's able to help it get born, but being patient for it to get born. On the left side, we have Berkana, which is also about new beginnings and birth. It's the birch tree. So something new is definitely coming in the month of July. Something new is gestating and being born right now. Something fresh and green, and it could be about family of origin. It could be about originating a family. Something really new is getting ready to get born. And it's a good thing. It's containing goodness. Something's transforming. There's some kind of renewal that's happening. Some kind of sense of creativity and nurturing that's here. It's like a cup and a basket something that we're drinking out of, something good that we're getting out of this. And the kingfisher is here flying over this water looking for something within that cup, within that amniotic fluid, in order to spear it with its little beak here. And the Berkana is saying something new also is coming in. So twice I'm getting this message that newness is about to arrive for you in this month of July. Something new is coming in, something fresh, something being born. There's new growth. There's a fertility. Certainly fertility is up. So we're sitting here grounded in our situation. That's groundedness underneath all of this, and out of that is coming some kind of fertility and rebirth and renewal. So congratulations on whatever that might be for you. Maybe you already know what it is. Some of you, I'm sure, do. Our fear or our challenge is the center in this reading, and I'm seeing the centerpiece as the Ein Sof on the Hebrew side is the unknown. It's something that we can't see. There may be some kind of blankness. There may be some kind of infinite potential, and it may seem like nothing is there. But this is the letter that is no letter. It is the blank canvas and the blank page onto which all things are inscribed. So even if there's a fear around nothingness showing up, this gives us the opportunity to create. So there's this blank space here. And this letter has shown up in 3 of the readings in this exact same position of this fear around what is becoming. So there's definitely that is up for everybody here today. There's a fear of the unknown and a fear or a challenge around infinite potential, that we don't know what to do with so many options perhaps, or this feeling that nothing is happening when in fact things are happening. You can see this kingfisher gliding over the surface and it looks like there's nothing there, but the kingfisher is the one who can see. He can see through the water. So even if there's a concern about not being able to see what's going on or that nothing is happening, that we can penetrate with that sword into the water to find the fish. And on the left side with the Nordic runes, we have the Thurisaz, and Thurisaz is the doorway, it's the gateway. It's also seen as the giant, so maybe something really challenging coming in the month of July. But it is an open doorway, it's a way to walk through, and the doorway is also sometimes seen as the birth canal, this delta of Venus. So there is a birth coming. We have a gestation up here and then a birth happening. So there may be something trying to get born, and it's hard. It's always hard to give birth, particularly for the mother, but also for the child. It's hard to be born. So I'm seeing this really strongly here, that there's this gestation, a birth, and then this doorway through which the birth happens, and a blankness that's feeling like, I don't know what's going to happen, but birth is happening, and that's the thing to be aware of. And as we come through to the end of the month, we're seeing the letter Kaf on the Hebrew side. The letter Kaf, which is the palm of the hand. It's the palm of the hand of the Shekhinah, who is lifting us up and supporting us from beneath, as well as sheltering over us as we walk through this time. It is the letter that begins the word koach, which means strength and power. So there is something at the end of the month that shows us that we have the power, that we have the strength, the kametz, which is the stone that is underlying all of these things. So not to fear, even if it feels like not much is happening. Power and strength is here at the end. And again, the palm of the hand, being supported from beneath, being sheltered over by the hand of the divine. It's also the letter that means the sun. It's the sun in the sky. So it speaks to source energy, the infinite. That sun, which is very hot at this time of year in the northern hemisphere, may seem oppressive even. But it's here to support us. It's here to give us life. On the left side, for the Nordic runes, we have the letter Hagalaz. And Hagalaz is the hailstorm. it's chaos and weather and the unknown on some level. And the thing to remember about Hagalaz is that it can seem chaotic and it can seem destructive, but if we can step into our own wildness, then we can become the hailstorm. There's nothing to fear. If we can tap into our own sacred wildness and find our own sacred power in the situation, all is well. So, and weather, comes and goes. It changes and shifts over the course of time. We may be flying over this still water and not see what we're fishing for. And eventually the kingfisher will be able to see and very deftly strike and catch whatever it is. And then that'll be chaos for the fish, but it'll be food for the fisher. So cycles and seasons, becoming our own wildness, finding our power, stepping into our strength, knowing that the divine is here for us, even if it's a little bit difficult to understand. So for those of you who chose the stones, the earth element, remain grounded during this period of time. There is a gestation happening. Birth is coming. The doorway will open, and it might be a little bit difficult to step through, but you need to step through. That even though you're not sure what's on the other side, even though it might seem blank on the other side, there's power on the other side. There's strength here. There may be chaos or may seeming chaos, but step into your own wild self, your own wildness. Step into your own wild power, your own divine sacred power, and you will be able to discern, to be able to say what you need to say and know what you need to know and find yourself grounded in the situation, regardless of how there are challenges along the way. So for those of you who chose stone today, earth element, this has been your reading. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, I hope you'll like and subscribe, and I will look forward to seeing you here next time.